Greetings, everyone. My name is Tolaine Matadi from the University of Zululand. I'm presenting a paper titled Child Marriages in South Africa, an assessment of how the custom of Ukuthwala aligns with the proposed single marriage bill. This is from the Ontario International Conference. I have my two colleagues, Ngema and Calvino, who gave me this opportunity to be the main presenter. Okay, thank you. And with respect to our outlines, we have an introduction, the legislative context, the proposed single marriage bill, the Ukuthwala customs, some of the criticism in the Minimum Marriage Act, and the regulation of Child Marriage Act in the proposed bill, and also the factors that are perpetuating child marriages in South Africa. Okay, so in terms of the definition of child marriages can be defined as a marriage where the parties to the marriage is below the age of 18, of the age at the time 18 at the time of the solemnization of the marriage. And then we can also distinguish between child marriages, forced marriage, and early marriage. A forced marriage, on the other hand, cannot always be equated to child marriages because an adult female may also be forced into a marriage of her own. For example, a widow who is a major in terms of the law may be forced to marry one of another brother of a deceased person. Okay, and then we also have in early marriages. Early marriage refers to a situation where one party to the marriage has not yet attained the minimum marriageable age of 18, that is early marriages. So what is the problem here? The problem that we have, child marriages is still persisting in South Africa, despite the legal restrictions that we have. And then there is another issue of the Ukuthwala. Ukuthwala is a Zulu custom. It's a Zulu custom, and then there is an alarming issue stating that the Ukuthwala, it's an irregular way of initiating marriage negotiation under the customary law. So the regular way of initiating marriage under customary law is by beginning to the courtship, where a man courts a woman to be in love with him. If he finally succeed in developing a romantic relationship with a woman, then there are numerous cultural practices that they must adhere to, like the payment of lobolo. Okay. Now, currently, what are the legal frameworks that we have in terms of child marriages? The Civil Union Act. That Civil Union Act prohibits marriages of children under the age of 8. But then the Marriage Act and the customary marriage, they allow marriage, but then that will, with the exception, because here it's only if the parents give consent, then the kids can be married. This is the issue with the Marriage Act and the Customary Marriage Act. Now, the current situation is there is a new law that will come, and that will include all these marriages provision in one. And then the requirement here, it will be the participants to marriage will be over 18, and then those will be over 18 with free consent. Okay. Now, the Ukuthwala custom is a traditional practice that involves abduction of a precursor to the negotiation. And consent is also involved. They will adopt a girl, they will bring the girl to the boy's family, and then with the girl's consent. And then later on, the boy will go to the girl's family to pay lobola. That is the cultural part of it. But then this was this became a practice where people are actually now taking girls by force, bringing them to their family and going to the girl's family, telling that we will pay lobola for this girl because we like the girl. But the consent there was also needed, but this is no longer the case. So that is the temporary issue. They're saying there's a misuse of the Ukuthwala customs. That's why there is now human rights concerns, because they say that there's no consent when they abducting these girls. Now, there is a legal concern about marriage that are allowed under the age of 18. And there is also a lack of proper guideline, which depends on the discretionary of the minister. There is another issue of human rights impact, because there's a violation of children's rights and the potential to perpetuate the child marriages. So now, when we have this proposed bill, which if approved by Parliament and then assented by the President will become the law, there we have the key provisions. There is no exceptions for underage marriages. So there's no even rule for underage marriages. It's gonna be 18 and above. They will require a proof of age when the kids are getting married. So actually the child marriage proposed bill will be a game changer in terms of underage marriage in South Africa. And then the consent also will be needed. Now here we look, if we have to align Ukuthwala, because that was the aim of our paper. The aim is there is a consent central to the validity of both the custom as law. The common goal here is the consent. Even the Ukuthwala, the girl will give consent and then she will be taken to the boy's family and later on paid the lobola. But due to misuse, and people need to really understand what Ukuthwala is, because they're abusing Ukuthwala. But what are the factors that are perpetuating child marriages? Factors such poverty, and lack of education. In poverty, we see the economic drivers, like family wants to marry their daughter off to reduce the burden at home. And then they also need incentives, like those dowry and lobola. It's a lot of money that people are paying, and more than 20 cows that they are paying. Another factor that is perpetuating or encouraging child marriage is lack of education. People need to be aware of the violation of children's rights when they're letting their daughter being married underage. And they're also the cultural norms, where they prefer the early marriage over investment of a girl in a girl's education. Girls also need to be educated, but because of lack of understanding, they prefer to send them early to marriage. So now the key argument here is that there's the exception to the minimum marriage age that undermines the effect of the child marriage. Now the proposed single marriage, as I mentioned up there, it's a game changer, because it will align with human rights standard, even at the international level. So the Ukuthwala's misuse is problematic. People need to understand that this is a custom or a cultural practice, and it should be properly used, because it does not inherently support child marriages. The final thought is that there is an importance of an education. There is a need of a legal reform and cultural shifts, shifting of the mind, where we need to eradicate child marriages. These are the recommendations: policy changes, public awareness, community engagement. Now we need to enforce, or this single marriage bill needs to be passed in law, because it needs to become the law because it aligns with human rights standard. There is also a need of clear guideline in terms of any marriage related exceptions. Now there's a need of public awareness, education campaigns to inform about the legal age of marriage. People need to be educated. What is the specific age of marriage? Same in terms of cultural and religious leaders. Then they need to get involved because they play a huge role in the community. They have to know the legal framework and also provide guidance to the community. These are a few references that we have. In the entire paper, there are a lot of references. Then I thank you for giving me the opportunity to briefly present this paper.